Well, Kyla and Adam VanWingerden, thank you for once again coming on to the Now That We're a Family podcast. This is fun because not only have you been on together as a couple, Kyla's been on a couple times by herself. Adam, you've been on once by yourself. And so I feel like our audience is relatively familiar with both of you guys. However, there may be some people that are not familiar with you both. So maybe could you both maybe give a quick introduction, just kind of some key highlights as to who you guys are. Are you related to Katie? If so, how are you related to Katie? Start there. Do you have children? Where do you live? What do you do for work? Who are the VanWingerdens?
Nice. Do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of times when we say we're related, people think it's Adam and Elisha. So we maybe do need to clear up that Katie and I are sisters, and these fine gentlemen married into our family. And we've been married for coming up on 7 years here in December. And this is our fourth kiddo on the way. I'm 27 weeks pregnant. And yeah, take it away.
Yeah, the VanWingerdens. I'm Adam, for those who don't know me. We've been married, like Kyla said, for coming 7 years this year, and from a really big family as well. So I'm the oldest of six, but then have a lot of cousins and whatnot across the United States. So, and then as far as what we do, we're entrepreneurs. It's a few different businesses, but the main thing I do is run a software company, a tech company. We do software for growers, and then Kyla does some stuff with supplements.
With Neolife, but very part-time.
Yeah. So Kyla, you've taken over now that I'm a motherhealth.com.
Yeah.
Initially it was going to be a joint venture, and then I just died somewhere along the way and gave a and then Kyla was just
Kyla's follow through, just like, okay, we're gonna do it all.
Yeah. So you still run and manage now that I'm a motherhealth.com and help women over there.
And I love it. It's super fun.
Okay, so what does life look like for you guys right now in terms of you just moved across the country, you're pregnant, you're running your business long term, you're remodeling, like how are you guys doing?
Surviving. It's been a lot. It's been definitely a huge season of transition. I think it's always interesting when you have one big season of transition, if you're just moving or if you're just remodeling or if we decided it'd be a good idea to do all of it at once, at one time. And so I'm not sure if that was the right idea, but that's what we did. So
yeah. And I think we had the expectation going into it that we knew what we were getting ourselves into in part. And so we've had our nose to the grindstone. And I mean, our days have been very long from early in the morning to late at night. We're being super productive. And yeah, it's been really rewarding because it feels like we're moving a lot of balls forward all at the same time. But yeah, slightly overwhelming at the same time, like needing to focus on the little tiny micro rhythms we have because we're in an Airbnb and we don't have any of our stuff yet. So like we're very out of our normal patterns. And I think when you move to a new place, you get excited to set up new patterns. And it's been a little difficult not being able to jump into that right away of like, we can't really host yet, or we aren't ready. We don't have the extra time to plug into extracurricular activities or small groups or stuff like that. So we see ourselves as being in a season of flux for really until like the beginning of the year. So
yeah, it's nice that you have that expectation. I'm curious, and I think we talked about this, Kyla, when we were interviewing just you, because Adam's, he's known for being social. He connects with people very quickly, whether he's from a town or not from a town. And you're social as well, but you're also trying to manage your home, right? Mm-hmm. And take care of the kiddos and whatever, do all those things. In these seasons of transition, do you guys feel like there's had to be a compromise where it's like, okay, we're going to be less social? You already said that. Where it's like, we can't really host right now. And like knowing that that's put on pause. And if so, if there is like that put on pause, what does that look like? Or if it's not put on pause, what does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like our social life's pretty much been just family.
Yeah.
And that's not even, so that's more just like support, maybe more than social, both, I guess. But I feel like we've had a lot of conversations about this, and it's pretty much like, hey, there's only so many things you can focus on. Multitasking or trying to focus on multiple things isn't really reality. So what we've really tried to do is, okay, force rank and prioritize what are the things that we have to do, what are the things that have either time constraints or different things that need to get done, and kind of go in order in that way. So socializing has just been low on the list, unfortunately. But I think it's been good. I think it's been healthy. And it's what needed to happen. We need to get this stuff done. So I think we also realized like having the conversations about it also just helps it like put a handle around it to be like, hey, this isn't happening right now, and that's okay. Versus just me feeling like, oh wow, we haven't had any kind of social life the last couple months.
Yeah, and it's one of the ways Adam recharges, being an extrovert. So it has been a challenge where you're like, wait, or even realizing being in a new work environment. He was very well connected in Lexington. Everybody knew him. He was kind of quite the man about town. And so now being in a totally new space where he does, it's a lot of people you don't know. It requires that energy and investment. And it's just like, oh, we can't do that yet. But I think what he said of putting language to it has been helpful for him. I feel like I've been able to thrive. This is the first time I've been by my sisters since, or most of them.
Yeah, I will say that's the blessing of having a big family, because we're over here a lot, and over here we're filming here at the house, Kyla and Katie's parents. And we're over here quite a bit. And so visiting and socializing with everyone here has been a great outlet, at least, to get away. And because sometimes when you're just kind of stuck in your own vortex of what's going on, you don't have a place to unplug and disconnect, even just mentally. I think that can be a little overwhelming, or I've felt overwhelmed, to put it that way, different times.
Yeah. So a real life-giving thing has been coming over here, and Adam uses a sauna and I visit, and we both leave feeling refreshed, and it's been a great reprieve.
Yeah. So initially, right after you guys got married, you moved to Kentucky to be near Adam's family. And now you guys are all the way out here. Like, your families aren't close at all. Mm-hmm. And how's that been an adjustment coming out here? Because you've been out here for a couple months now, just being near family. Is it what you anticipated it would be like? Is it more challenging? Is it, how's that been?
Yeah, I think for me, I feel like I had a lack of expectation of like, what is it going to look like to live next to my family? Because we haven't ever established that. And we definitely had our rhythms with Adam's family that we loved and we miss for sure. But since being out here, I think it's been better than I anticipated, but I still don't feel like I know exactly what it's going to look like, because I feel like it will be different when we're actually in our own home and we have established more of like our weekly, monthly routines and what it looks like. Because I'm sure we won't be quite we've been over here quite a bit.
I know. Okay. So it's funny when you guys are like, yeah, the social life, all these things. And I'm like, every time I call mommy, she's like, so Adam and Kyla were over here for our, Tuesday night. And then we had a birthday this night. And then we had him sing this night. And I'm like, wow, you guys are over there all the time. But that's just like our different social levels.
Yeah. I think for me, probably when I think about social too, it's like, I do think of it as, like, for me, just one-on-one networking, connecting with people from even like a business perspective, or to talk theology or whatever it might be, is like I had a pretty good rhythm in Lexington where I'd probably meet with people 2 or 3 times a week at minimum, either coffee, lunch, just like one-on-one. And so I think I didn't realize, since being away and moving, I didn't realize what a cool outlet that was for me. It's just like, you're doing it in the midst of doing it, you don't realize like, oh, this is a really life-giving thing. I think being away from that and processing that with Kyla, I'm like, wow, that's something that I miss. So I think, or having people over to our house, because we're coming over here, but like hosting people into our home. Yeah. We don't have a home. We're kind of nomadic right now. And so I think those are the social pieces I think about that we're missing.
We acknowledge the fact that we're piggybacking our parents' social life because we don't have quite the energy to establish our own. So we're like, hey, this is what it is. Yeah. We're going to get in on the things that we can that are already functioning, and hopefully in the future set up our own.
And it is weird to go back to, I think you asked it, Elisha, but the coast to coast thing of like, hey, we were based in Lexington and we were coming out here for long periods of time visiting. We kind of had that rhythm pretty well established. We come here for large chunks of the summer, and now we're like flip-flopping that. We're going to be out in Bend. We're here, miss my family a ton. We had good routines there with them, and then we're going to probably, go over there for different chunks of the season. So, but that being said, we haven't really even had a chance to even process any of that, just because we're trying to maintain it. I mean, that's the other tricky part, is maintaining me being a good father, me being a good husband, maintaining our relationship, trying to keep all those things established. Those are my primary roles is, hey, I'm a husband, I'm a daddy. I've got, even other familial, brother-in-law, like all those things I care more about. And then I got business and all the others, and then all the other peripheral things, the remodel, the house, the running the business. And so I think that's what makes it a little tough.
Yeah, I'm curious as to some things you're looking forward to implementing on a like routine and structural basis into your personal lives once you get more established in like a permanent home? And I also want to hear actually too, after that, kind of how you guys have gone about traveling as a family, because from the time you guys were married, and I know Adam, travel was a huge part of your childhood. And so I think that was kind of like, that was a part of the plan, right? When you guys got married, is you guys were going to travel, and you've brought your kids up thus far, just flying and going international and coming, going multiple trips across country in like over the course of like a couple months. You guys will just be jet lagging all over the place. And so I'm wondering for the first, yeah, exactly, not jet lagging, but yeah, you are actually you are jet lagging everywhere.
Jet setting.
Yeah.
Jet setting, jet lagging,
and jet lagging, exactly, both of them. So for the first question, as you guys look to like plugging into your home, what are some like things that you think are fundamental to just kind of like the operations of a home and of a family? As far as basic and practical, are there things that you guys are going to re-implement that you had back in Lexington? Are there things that you're hoping to introduce that are new, when it comes to your daily routines, family routines, meal times, workout times, stuff like that? What's the vision there?
Mm-hmm.
You want to go, or do you want me
Sure.
to go for it?
I mean, the things that first come to mind are like establishing workouts. And I think a lot of it I've kept the same as far as like meals and family function, as far as like even the kids' schooling, and some of that has been able to maintain. But definitely the areas where we give, so where it feels like hosting or bringing people into our space, we're really excited to implement that and start doing that, because that was a big part of what we did in Lexington and where we found a lot of life. And yeah, it sounds like working out is such a small thing, but it is such a vital thing that provides like a lot of energy and stress relief. And it's something that's really hard to do when there's friction, it feels like. And so we've been making it happen as we can. And yet it is really exciting to feel like, hey, at one point this felt really automatic, and to be able to get back to where it just feels automatic and there's not all this thought around like, when can we fit it in and where and how and all that.
What were your automatic workout routines back in Lexington?
Well, I would primarily work out in the morning when Adam was still at home with the kids, so I would be free to leave. I would go walk or run every other day, and then I would work out at home downstairs in our basement. We had like a home gym type setup. And then now Adam is on a different time schedule, so he's now working with an Eastern company, so his work starts at 6. And so that's been just like a different shift of he needs to get out of the house a lot earlier, which forces our day to like, we haven't quite worked out where those pieces fit yet. So that's why it's been a big shift for my working out. And then for you, it's...
Yeah, I think it's like, I think about it as like, we had some really awesome, like foundational things in Lexington that really served us really well and effectively. I think we want to take those and bring those back into Bend, but we're going to have to reimagine some of those things. Like what they actually look like just in practice, right? Like, hey, I know working out's super important and I like need to do it. Kyla needs to do it. Instead of me being able to do it maybe in the mornings, I can't do that anymore. My work, a lot of it's East Coast time. It kind of gets going like, hey, it might need to be in the afternoon, or Kyla now we need to restructure when she works out. And so I think, and I will say this too, like it's been really important for us during the season of transition, because those were life-giving routines, things like working out, eating well, supplementing, like these are things that I feel like we've prioritized just because fatigue makes cowards of us all. Getting sick makes us more cowardly. I don't know. But I think that's been one thing of like, hey, we want to make sure we're maintaining our health and feel like we're in a really good spot. So that's been something I think, and Kyla's, this is all her. She does an amazing job of making sure we're eating healthy, or my supplements are ready for me, or giving time available to me to work out or get away. So I think we're just going to have to, as we kind of establish these new rhythms and routines, figuring out like how they fit. And also just having grace for ourselves in this season of being like, hey, we're just going to do what we can. Whatever we get is what we get. And as far as getting away for a lift or a run or something. So I don't think we know exactly what it'll look like, but we kind of know the foundational pieces that we need to put together. And then in practice or time, we'll kind of figure that out over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, real quick. If you're looking for music lessons for your family, piano lessons, guitar lessons, fiddle lessons, ukulele lessons, mandolin lessons, you can subscribe to Voteberg Music Academy and get lessons for the whole family. Subscribe to the piano course, one subscription, get you piano lessons for the whole family. Subscribe to guitar, that gets you guitar lessons for the whole family. We'll link it below. You get a special discount, and you can see that below by listening to our podcast. That's how you get the discount. Go check it out.
I don't know. We're working this out on the fly, actually, so I'm not sure. This is kind of what it is. So
We're like forcing you, think of the future. And you're like, I'm trying to live today. I relate so much to that feeling of that whole wanting to be eager to give because you feel like life's just taking everything from you. Like literally the last time we interviewed Kyla, we were living at Daddy and Mama's and then at an aunt's house. And so in an interim housing period, waiting for our bill to finish up. And it felt the same way. It was just like, okay, this is taking everything from us. And we used to like open our home or, these things, but it's not really the season for it now. And it's good to acknowledge there's seasons like that though. Like how did hospitality look for you guys back in Kentucky? Like how often would you open your home? How did you guys do that?
At least a couple times a week.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And then of course there was like stuff on the weekends. So it really is a big part, I feel like, of how we feel like we're able to connect and engage with others in a way that's meaningful. So it is a big shift to not. And yeah, you feel like I want to be on the offensive on some of this instead of feeling like, but it is good, I think, to learn to receive too, which has been really like people have been so kind and giving an understanding of our crazy schedules or just welcoming us into their places. And it's been sweet to be able to try to like, hey, we're just, that's the season we're in. We're going to receive this gratefully, but yeah, ready to get on the offense.
Okay. And then I have another question too, because I feel like this comes up a lot. And I think of this a lot when you host multiple times a week. What are you guys cooking? Like, okay, do you budget for this?
don't look at me, Katie.
Yeah, Adam, I'm
She's looking at me
you
asking
for the
that question.
budgeting
And
side.
I'm like, okay, there you go.
Like, is this like giving set aside? Is this just Adam, you just make money and Kyla just buys groceries?
Spends it.
Somehow I'm No, that's definitely not true. What do you think?
I mean, that's the reality. Adam just makes money and I spend it. If we're being honest, we have been really blessed. The Lord's blessed us and we want to be able to extend that to others. And we've been able, especially in Lexington, we were living in a place that was like, it's very affordable to live. And so I even know there's probably going to be some shifts moving to Bend. We will probably need to have a little bit more of a plan or an eye on some of these things. But as it was, we were able to just move forward without having to give too much thought to it. I try to be I'm fairly frugal as naturally. It's like at the core of my being. And so I feel like when it comes to shopping or cooking, I always have that in mind. What can work for a crowd or
What are your go-tos? What are your go-tos for a crowd?
go-to meals?
Yeah. Or can you literally just make anything? Like, I do remember you making everyone eat the strawberry heads because you thought it was wasteful. So I know, like,
She still does it. She still eats. She doesn't make people do that, but she still personally.
Wow.
does it.
So was this, she made the guests eat them, or was this growing up? Like she would make her
I hope it's
sisters?
just the siblings. Yeah.
She just made them very uncomfortable if they left their
Yeah.
like leftover strawberry heads there on the plate.
be careful when you go over to Kyla's. No. And same thing with an apple. She would eat, I just think of this with your frugality in food. You would eat the entire apple and all the seeds, and you would literally have the little twist off top.
And I
You'd be
still,
like, "I'm
I
done with
still
my
do
apple."
that. I have the twist off and the seeds, and like we're not to the point where I have to eat the core of the apple.
The first time I took a bite of a mushy apple and threw the rest out the window, that was a big fight.
Yeah. No, I think there is something to that in the fact that I meal plan. I don't waste like anything. If it comes into my house, we're gonna eat it before it goes out. And sometimes that the kids and I get the brunt. The kids are the ones that probably get the brunt of it with myself. We try to keep it for Adam and the guests where it just seems like a normal experience. But no, honestly, it's kind of embarrassing, but I try to be mindful.
I would say, like, to circle back to the question, I think that you are very good at planning. So, like, you're a planner, and so if you know someone's coming over, I guess the Sunday, usually, you tell me you're doing this.
Yes.
You take your laptop out, you're meal planning for the week. Usually, we know when guests are coming, a week out. At times, you'll just figure it out on the fly. You can figure that out with the ingredients that you have. But usually, you'll think, hey, how can I bless these people? What can we make that's healthy, yummy? You're an exceptional cook, and you really do a great job of part of, having people over is making people feel welcome by making a nice meal. And as far as budgeting goes, budget is light, fancy, and free, to say the least.
We could probably grow in this.
Probably allocate more towards like, hey, that's our hospitality fund. I don't know. But I think generally speaking, you are just more careful. You think through. You shop at places that aren't going to be. You use coupons, I think, right? Don't you?
Yeah,
Sometimes?
and it just helps that like I don't love to shop. I am not a big spender just in general. So it does feel like we have just a natural freedom that comes to our budget because of that. And this is something that's so valuable to me that it's an easy spend to be able to spend money on food or hosting items. And yeah, it just kind of helps that I don't like to shop outside of that. It's pulling teeth to try to get other stuff.
I don't know if we answered any of it, but I think that was close.
No, that's good. Yeah, we're excited to work on our budget because we just last night opened up, what's that Dave Ramsey book called? Yeah, Total Money Makeover.
Yeah.
And so I knew this was going to happen. I was avoiding that book because I knew it was going to be convicting. It's like when you don't want to know the truth, and they say like all progress starts by telling the truth. It's like, I'd rather not know the truth on this part of our life, but progress is going to be starting to be made in our life when it comes to budgeting for food. So when it comes to travel, I'm curious. One, Kyla, were you on board with this from the beginning? Because I from what I recollect, this was something that Adam was excited about and you enjoyed in your childhood and wanted to have in your family. So were you on board from the beginning? And then what does that look like logistically with your kids? Because Katie and I are eager students. We really want to give our children travel, and yet it's one of our least favorite things to do ever is travel. And so we want to grow in that capability. And I think we've changed our mindset. We used to say like, we're not good travelers. And now we want to become good travelers. I don't think you're like fixed in this type of thing. Yeah. So what are some things that you guys have made that possible for your family?
Yeah.
I feel like there's many things. One, a great forcing mechanism to have to be good at it is just having families on opposite sides of America, right? So it's like, hey, we don't really have an option. We love our family. We want to see our family. This is something we have to figure out. Now, like you had mentioned, I've always loved to travel. It's like a travel bug in the VanWingerdens. All of us like to jet set and go to different places and do different things. And so I think for me, it was definitely something I valued of like, hey, I want to travel with you. I want to take our kids places. My dad was just so awesome about that. I mean, we lived in New Zealand. We traveled across to Europe, Australia. We just went and did a lot of things. But with our family, we were kind of forced to figure it out. And so I think there's a lot of tools, I guess, very pragmatic tools, tips, and tricks of things that we've kind of learned and done. You could probably kick off a bunch of them if you want to now, and I could sprinkle some in.
Yeah, I think I was on board from the beginning. As far as traveling, we also lived a very transitionary lifestyle. We moved a lot, and then we also would drive more. So I was new to the whole flying thing as a means of transport, but we did lots of long road trips. So I felt like growing up kind of prepared us. I mean, at one point, I think I was like 17, Katie was 19, and we drove the kids in the 15-passenger van from LA to Bend, Oregon,
with
which
the trailer.
with like it's 15 hours.
Didn't we almost lose both you guys? Elisha and I almost wouldn't have had wives. There's that.
There was ice and snow. I think I look back on it as it was a wild time, and yet we pulled it off. And so I feel like there was some of that capability being built in. Like we were learning to take care of kids and hunger and potty breaks and kind of think through logistics of what needed to happen. And so being able to kind of take some of those skills and transfer was really helpful. And flying, it's really a matter of, I think, reps, because it's down to I always dress in layers because planes can be either hot or cold. And that really it's the little things that add to the frustration of why do I feel like I'm going to snap right now is because there's 8 little things that are going awry versus any one big thing that's going to go horribly wrong. So I found these are very practical, but I wear my hair in braids so I can have my head against the seat rest. Cause if I put my hair up or in a clip or a ponytail, it's bonking and I feel it kind of irritates me. So I found, I always wear my hair in braids so it's pulled back and the kids can't grab it. And then I always dress everybody in layers that are light so that people are not hot or cold. Bringing
snacks. You bring tons of
snacks. Books or having their favorite toy that's a special thing that we pull out. There's just one. It's something that I don't mind losing because a lot of times it'll drop to the floor and slide forward and you're like, oh, it's gone. But I expected that. This was not.
You like to board last?
Yes. Boarding last. You have less time with the infant on your lap.
Well, I think even small little things I fly a lot. And so if you can, if you're dead set on hey, I want to fly a lot with my family and my kids and have the means and resources to do so, picking an airline and getting status, it's a huge deal. We have a credit card where we get United Club membership where, hey, I can take my wife and all the dependents in for free. So it's like little things like that where it's like, hey, instead of having to buy everyone food at the airport, we're able to swing in and it's a big buffet and there's areas for the kids to kind of play and it's a little quiet setting. If things go wrong with the flight, because I have status with United, I can send a text and they just take care of everything immediately. And then bags fly free. We get like 8 bags that fly free because of some of those things. So, I mean, this is just kind of spitballing on the different things that we think about, but, or even giving enough reps into like, hey, we have a system for like where we park when we go to the airport, you know, who's getting what, just
flight times.
Yeah. Flight times.
Paying attention to that. Layover times, not letting it be too tight to where, hey, if we get delayed, we'll miss it. Cause that can be a big deal to get, 5 seats on a new flight.
Booking flights, like flight times, like we mentioned, is a really big deal. Like, hey, if we need to be somewhere in the evening, making sure we're getting the first morning flight out, stuff like that. And then like any plan, being okay with the fact that sometimes it's when you're flying and it is going to go awry and you just got to deal with it and sort it out. So, and being okay to just realizing, hey, if you're stuck somewhere or things don't go perfectly, it's not the end of the world. It's going to be okay. There's bigger problems out there. And just, I think getting your mindset correct.
Yeah. Or like not giving your kids water bottles. So I have the flight attendants pour whatever they're drinking from the snack cart right into their water bottles so we don't have water spilling. Because something as small as that is like, it gets bumped and you want it to be special. So occasionally I'll let them have some juice mixed with sparkling water or something like that. But it's like, I don't want that all over and make everybody sticky so just little things go a long ways towards making it smoother. And the more you do something, it really is something that's very easy. Our kids love to travel. They have the expectation. It's just like, I mean, I've flown by myself numerous times with
3
all
kids
the kids.
and pregnant right now.
And it's not something that I like feel anxiety about. And it's because I think of all these little things that just like, they know what they're doing. I know what I'm doing. And it's honestly, it's not like to toot my horn. It's to say that it becomes something that's just so everyday that it is not a challenge.
That was a very verbose answer. Hopefully that was what you were looking for.
That is. No, I feel like Elisha and I are feeling anxiety for you over here. And also being like, why didn't we ask you this sooner? Because I honestly just thought, I don't know, you guys are weird. But then as I'm thinking about that, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of practical stuff that totally makes sense. You do it a few times and you get better at it.
Yeah, this is so helpful. I'm with Katie because all these scenarios you guys are talking about, I'm like, yep, those are the worst fights we've ever been in, or like this is the worst, this is the most we've ever snapped at the kids is in all these situations. And I mean, there's never, you can't justify sinning ever, right? However, there are some things you can put in place to minimize the damage for what's going to take place in those situations. And I love those practical things because I think, well, and again, just to keep it practical, with flight times, like, will you guys even go, say you can't get the first flight out, it's going to be pushing it, because it could be delayed and all those things just the later you get in the day. Will you go a day early? Will you be like, hey, it's worth it to go a day early? Or do you guys have a strategy around that stuff? Because it just seems like you said, most of the time we fly, that flights are delayed, they're canceled. We're on a tight timeline. We miss events. We, like all the things happen and we're in a bad mood the whole time. And so we get home and we're like, net loss, net loss, net loss. We're never doing that again. So are there things that you put in place to mitigate those kind of inevitable situations?
Yes. And I think that's I personally just fly a lot individually. So I kind of know a lot about just by happenstance of flight times. There's an app called Flighty that will literally tell you a percentage of flights delayed or how often, or if it gets delayed once, what's the percentage it gets canceled, all these different little things. And so we work backwards. If like, hey, we know we have to be at this event at this time. And if we can't get the first flight out, we will. So we'll get the afternoon flight the day prior, right? And so we kind of know, okay, we'll know for sure we'll be able to get in. And then I know, hey, if I'm laying over in San Francisco and I need to get to Bend, I'll intentionally, or if I'm trying to get to Bend and I intentionally know I need to get there at this time, I'll make sure my layover is in a spot like San Francisco where I can like, hey, I know there's a morning flight in San Francisco. If we get stuck in San Francisco, we can get to Bend by lunchtime. Or worst comes to worst, we can drive 6 hours. I can rent a car, like no big deal. And it's funny because is that ideal? No, that would be really not ideal. However, the peace that brings me flying with my family and the anxiety it takes away, realizing like, hey, worst comes to worst, we're going to get to San Francisco. And we can either drive to make the event if it's a funeral or something really important, right? Because that's kind of the pending, like, oh man, we're going to miss this. That just takes a lot of burden and stress off. If I've done a little bit of planning and know, hey, worst comes to worst, we'll get there when we need to get there.
Yeah, I do think a lot of that comes from Adam is a flight master, and he has a high level of like, I don't even know that you would invest that level of time into it to become.
I fly personally a lot. Like, so I think
Exactly. That's what I mean. So it's become like this thing where he'll even know like, oh, okay, no problem. We're going to right now. Yeah, I don't like my odds. I'm going to tell them that I want this one-way switch to here. And he like really takes care of the flight logistics, which I do more like cross my fingers, and we don't get the perks when I don't fly with Adam. So I'm always like, let's hope this all goes as it should.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful stuff. And that makes a ton of sense because it's like missing a flight in Salt Lake versus San Francisco and you're trying to get to Bend. And so you're just seeing where are we going through? And that's one more thing to look for that can really, I think, diminish the damage.
Yep.
You know,
well, and the funny thing is like that's very rarely happened where we've had to like take a rental car from San Francisco to Bend. It's more just the peace it brings me to be like, hey, this flight I might miss my second leg, but I'm in a spot where we can figure something out.
Okay, so you fly a lot for work. You can fly a lot with your family. Some people are listening going like, that's cool. We'll definitely be getting in the van and driving across the country because that's a big deal. Obviously, getting flights is as annoying as it is. It's also nice to be able to do. So, okay, but business-wise though, I feel like you've taken a lot of risks business-wise to get to where you're at right now. And you continue to take risks and grow and push yourself out of your comfort zone. And I think, when you guys first got married, you could have settled for a good job, and instead you chose to start a company. And so how has that looked for you guys, just the ups and downs? Because it's not always, up. Exactly. How has that been for your marriage and all of that and continuing to take risks and put yourself out there? How has that been?
You answer.
Oh, really? Well, this is interesting. Adam is the risk taker, and I'm down for the adventure of life. Put it that way.
I'm very risk tolerant.
Yes, he's not risk averse for sure. He's risk tolerant. And I do think when you live beneath your means or you are willing to go to a place, I always knew that Adam would be able to like figure something out. He could always go get another job, but this opportunity had a real chance for upsides. And so we were willing to make sacrifices. And I think the bigger sacrifices that have come throughout the journey have been the stress throughout the different seasons, because we're able to constrict finances. Like I said, we were living in a place where it just made a lot of sense, and we were able to kind of keep our earning to living ratio to where it was low. And it could always, like you said, if you're spending a lot of money on hosting or travel, those are all things you can cut back and remove from your life if need be. And it felt like our housing and our food would be taken care of at a really low rate. And so we could, beyond that, I felt like there was a lot of freedom and flexibility for Adam. And I feel like there's a lot of value in that I've tried to keep in our home as far as a fair amount of, just from my perspective, because I'm obviously not the primary breadwinner or out in a place where I can make that a difference, but to make it feel like Adam had all the support that he needed to be able to take risks and manage things in such a way that it wouldn't be an extra burden on him if things would go south, but it would be like, hey, we can find a way to adjust and make this fit so that you get a chance to try again or do something different.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's always, I think getting perspective is always super helpful for me because I'm like, okay, what's the worst thing that could happen here? And it's like the worst thing that's happened is like, I guess the worst is you could get booted out of your house, and we have family. So like, okay, we could go bundle with family if we needed to, guess piggyback on them. But the reality is like, you'd always, more than likely, you can always try to find a job. You can always go do something, right? And so, I think for us, when we first started out Silver Fern 5 or 6 years ago, and it's just because the team that we have is really, that's the reason why I've been successful. Just an amazing team that is able to, unique teamwork, unique ability teamwork. So I feel really, really blessed just to have the team that we have. And I think that's a big reason why we've been successful. But I really believe that if you think about, just business in general, there's a seemingly like, feels like a really big risk initially. And you're like, oh man, and fear can creep in. You're like, what if this doesn't happen? This doesn't happen. And the reality is like, to be a really successful entrepreneur, you kind of do have to be like, just almost ignorantly optimistic and relentlessly resourceful. I mean, it's a certain probably personality and MO that it takes to make something work. But, yeah, I don't feel, it's funny, like even asking like, it being a big risk. I don't even think I thought about that really when I started. And also it's because I was raised, my entire family and extended family, they're all entrepreneurs and have been in entrepreneurship forever. I mean, I don't think I have any uncle that's gainfully employed, or even all my cousins. Everyone just kind of did their own thing. So it was kind of what I grew up with and saw. So I don't think I thought about it much. But yeah, thinking back on it now and being a little bit more, so getting perspective on it, there was times that were really, really hard. And I think that there was ups and downs and things that oscillate. It oscillated in the right direction over 5 or 6 years. And it has allowed us to be able to move out to here and, work remotely and do all these different things. But yeah, it's interesting answering that question from a risk perspective, because I don't think I thought about it too much. We had a few discussions about making sure we just kept things, like you said, in a means low, so we could keep our food, housing, etc. When we're kicking things off, let's make sure it stays as low as possible.
Yeah. So I was curious about that. How do you, what do you risk? What do you not risk? Right? Do you guys have those non-negotiables? Okay, these things we're going to be able to cover these bases, or are we, taking out money on the house?
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Because everyone has different levels of
there was a lot of discussion
fall.
initially.
Yeah.
Basically, when we started the company, I just worked a bunch of savings. I think I had $100,000 or something that I'd saved over before we were married and all this stuff. And so we did kind of okay, well, what's the lowest we can make our monthly expenses? Whether it's really just housing, built utilities and food. And we said, okay, then I have this much of a runway. We have,
Yeah.
I think we
did know what we didn't want to drop below of hey, this is kind of where we're going to call it quits and need to look at a different position.
But it was like pulling the Boeing 747 as the runway was.
It was
out.
It was nice to have that knowledge.
It was under it was, I can't even remember. It's been a long time, but I think we had got it down. So I don't even remember. I think it was $4,000 a month maybe, or less than that.
Our expenses,
everything we had.
Yeah.
We already had a house. So that was a big chunk of we didn't want to get rid of that. And so we just kind of all right, what can we do to keep bare minimum? And then, all right, we have a certain amount of year and a half, 2 years, whatever it was, to get this thing profitable.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. And what's wild is, and we were just talking about this in the kitchen before we came out, it was 5 years ago that you were like, I want to build a company and be able to work it remotely, and have the freedom to move from Lexington to Bend if we so choose to do that and be around family. And to see that come to fruition is kind of surreal, because I remember verbatim those phone conversations that we would have.
Yeah.
And here you are doing it. So I'm curious as to how would you encourage someone to look at time frames, because I really do think there's no unrealistic, there's no unrealistic goals, there's unrealistic timelines. Mm-hmm. And that's something that we like to tell each other. And I know a lot of young families have aspirations to improve their living situation, right? To maybe move from where they're currently living to somewhere else, to start to get out of the work situation, to whatever it may be, to grow, right? To grow in certain areas. And so how can you kind of get on the same page with realistic time frames so that when you are making those short-term sacrifices, right? Because really retracting spending and bringing everything in is never fun in the moment. You want to buy the thing that day, or you want to go out to eat. That just sounds fun. Your friends are going out. And so how did you guys kind of keep each other aware of that vision? And did you kind of break down benchmarks along the way? Because 5 years can actually feel like a really long time.
Yeah. This is a fun question. I think I'll say something here and then you can jump in, but I think what's really interesting is it goes back to what you said, but it's a famous saying, but people mostly overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 5 or 10 or whatever. I think it's really important people to sit down and think about a vision. Okay, what is the vision you have for your life? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? Who do you want to become? All these different things. And I think a lot of times people just skip and they jump right into tactics. They just start doing stuff. And I think the layer that often is missed is the strategic layer, the strategy piece of sitting okay, this is our vision. This is where we want to be. Then we actually do the mental work and reason and logic. How are we going to accomplish this? What's the best way to accomplish this? And so it's more like going with a sniper rifle over a shotgun, right? It's if you've done the work to think strategy, and vision is more static and strategy is a lot more iterative and dynamic, and it can change and evolve over time based on new things being, new variables at play or whatever. But I think it's really important that if you are sold on this vision for your life or what you want to do, you need to do the work to be what is the best strategy to accomplish this vision? For me, it was entrepreneurship. I have a cousin where it was commercial real estate. I have other people who might have been hey, we want to get be an employee or a W-2. There's work. You have to just think through hey, what do you want and what's the best way to accomplish it? And then being willing to revisit it on maybe a quarterly cadence to be okay, let's measure backwards. How far have we come from where we were a quarter ago, right? Are we making progress? Is it the progress we want to make in the right direction? And so I think having those kind of frameworks to think through things, I think gives you the ability to be able to navigate those conversations and feelings.
Yeah, I think this is really helpful to to think about things through that strategy, or where you said vision first, which you said is static. Like that's
it's more static,
like unchanging, more or less. Of course, we've got the freedom to change it if we want to, right? It's our vision. But then the strategy, and there's going to be more flux in that, and that will require pivoting. And I like how you said, hey, because I think this is really helpful for a lot of young families. They will see somebody like yourself or maybe even us and say, okay, they were able to get here through entrepreneurialism, but that's not for everyone. And looking at the strategy as really kind of being, well, the means to get to the vision, right? We had a vision for our family, and we saw entrepreneurialism as being a means to achieve that. Could you kind of like flesh that out even more when it comes to, because I think this is probably like a business concept, but it doesn't just have to be a business concept. I think this is how people can look at their family, right? Like what's the vision?
Well, I think that's exactly right. And I think it's easy to conflate all of them. Right. But I think if you think about it as far as like, hey, the vision piece, the strategy piece, and the tactics piece. Okay, the vision is just big vision you have for your life. I think most people understand what that is. Like, hey, what do you want to be, do, or have 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. I also have some opinions on, if you go too far out, sometimes it's like so ethereal, you can't really like, I don't know what's going to happen in 25 years, but it's still helpful to be like, hey, do I want to have a big family? Do I want to be able to host people? Do I want to be on property? Like, do I want to have freedom of purpose or time, relation, what the strategic coach talks about, the 4 freedoms: time, relationship, purpose, and finance. Like, so you have this big vision for your life. There's multiple ways to accomplish this vision, right? And then that gets into strategy. So a vision, like you said, it's kind of static. It can change and evolve, but it's like, hey, this, usually you set like a real big vision for your life, and in reality, most of the time it is what it is, and it's pretty static. Then a strategy is a more like an evolving thing. It's iterative. It can change. It's dynamic, and you think about, and you should be revisiting it on a cadence. Like in business, we revisit on a quarterly cadence. You kind of have like, hey, what's the big, hairy, audacious goal? What's the vision for the next 10 years, maybe 5 years? You break it down to 3 years potentially. Okay, what is the strategy for the year to get there? Then you break it into quarters. Quarterly, what does it need to happen? And then the execution planning is the tactics, the actual doing of that strategy. And then you just have to make sure I think it's really important to have the framework, even in your family, because a business and a family are essentially the same thing. It's an organization. It's a people. You're putting people together to pursue a common goal or a common thing. And so I think that when we think about our family, we're like, hey, this is the vision that we have. What is the best strategy? And entrepreneurship, by the way, isn't always for everyone. Like you had just mentioned, there's certain people that you can become an incredible solopreneur. You can become you can do a 1099. You can be a W-2 and just have a great job, or you're making tons of money, go into high finance, go into law. There's so many different ways you can accomplish the vision. And then the tactical pieces is the execution of the strategy that you put into place. And so for someone that says, hey, I want to become a lawyer because that's a really high earning potential, this, and that, the execution phase might be like, the first step is I need to get into law school. And that's the first step. That first tactical step would look materially different than the first tactical step I took in entrepreneurship to accomplish my vision. And we could even have the same visions. All that being said, I do think not all strategies are equal. I think it is really important to be self-aware. I think it was Socrates or one of those philosophers said, like, basically the secret to success is to know thyself, like to know your MO, who you are, what your skill set is, like being able to know who you are is so valuable, because it's going to inform what strategy you decide to go down, right? I was never going to be a lawyer. I was never going to be a doctor. I was never going to be, a commercial real estate agent. Like, those are all potentially good strategies, but it was not for me. I was self-aware enough to realize, like, this is not what I'm going to do to accomplish the vision. So I don't know.
I felt like your father really encouraged you and helped build that self-awareness by, if you back up even further, he had him take on jobs that were just regular jobs with the intent of him discovering who he was and kind of figuring that out. So by the time you had gotten to your late 20s, you had a pretty good idea of who you were and where your strengths lied, and I think that really helped.
Maybe relative to other young 20-year-old guys. I think my dad forced me to be like, hey, you need to go out and get a broad range of experience doing a ton of different things. And so because you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes you should be thrown in like, hey, go be an Excel analyst, which I did and I hated. Go to figure out operations or do logistics, go work at a garden center, go do sales, go, get this, do this curriculum or get this degree or get this credential, like whatever they might have been. There's a whole slew of things. And that during that process, you kind of become self-aware.
Yeah. And I just think that helps expedite the process of knowing yourself. That, along with a lot of reading and intentionally looking for feedback from others around you, I think help fuel your understanding. Because I do feel like Adam has a really good understanding of who he is compared to most people his age. He really knows. And that helps you choose your course and one that you're going to be successful at.
So I think a lot of times, often for me, I've matured since my 20s into my 30s. Still have a long way to go, generally speaking. But I think one thing you and I have talked about is your actions or what you do tactically is informed by your feelings, and your feelings are often informed by your thinking, right? You think, you feel, you do. And so as I've matured, being able to, I'm a very emotional person. My highs are high, my lows are low, but to be able to kind of get outside of that and think about my thinking more often, and realizing that that's the root and kind of grounds for how I'm feeling and then how I commit action against that. So I think it's kind of on the same topics of just like thinking through vision, strategy, tactics, like getting a little more metacognitive versus kind of just being kind of feeling something and then just doing it.
Yeah, I think that's so helpful to have those tools in place to think about your thinking and then to have that inform your feeling and then in your action. And going back to vision, I think things that shift vision are really like the Lord's directing, like
Correct.
the Lord changing your heart around children or around family, your values changing, where instead of, wanting the vacation homes over there, you're like, man, you know
100%.
what? I think I'd rather be able to have my children close by and get them going. Like those are things that shift your vision.
And you can make a strong argument to be like, hey, there is a specific common denominator vision that should be just there being a believer.
Yes.
That you're like, hey, these are the things you should desire and want. And there's certain people that maybe didn't grow up with that or see that or have that realization. And when that pivots, that could greatly pivot your strategy, right? Because that's a material like Six Sigma big shift that you're now experiencing. And so that could really blow up your entire strategy of like, hey, I no longer am going to do this job because this doesn't serve my big vision for my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love too, you touching on that self-awareness and the need for that in implementing a strategy. And both of you guys shared great things, the experiences your father gave you, and that motivates me to do that for my children for sure. And then Kyla, you also mentioned, what are people close to you saying? Like if you don't feel like you know your strengths or you're not self-aware in regards to what's the best strategy, is it entrepreneurialism? Is it law school? Is it whatever? Having people that are close to you that you can go to for counsel, I think is critical. And then also I think something else is just looking at your history. Like everything has led to this point, right? When you're able to deconstruct and be like, oh, the Lord in my experience has led to this point. What would be the next most rational and profitable move in this game, right? Like, is it all led to me going to law school? No, it doesn't. That doesn't add up at all. But starting my own company, that actually does kind of look like it would be a logical progression considering my history. Those are really helpful things.
Wow. Okay. So jumping gears real quick, because we're almost done. I want to hear you put Adam's pills in a little pill box, don't you? Yeah. His vitamins.
Pills or
That sounds really
supplements.
ominous.
Yes. No, I prep for sure. Keeping consistent. I've come up with a little system. It's the old lady system. It's like the people that are on heart medication that are going to die if they don't take it.
Me.
This is what they do. So I figured it's got to work. But the little Monday through Sunday pill boxes, and I load them up at the beginning of the week and make sure that they're in his toiletry kit when he travels, so that he can't help, but when he goes to brush his teeth, they're just right there. And then often I'll set them out on the counter that night, at night to make sure, because you're
Which
not
I'm
as much
so-
a creature of habit.
No.
But that's been a really consistent way for us to get our supplements in, which is huge. Cause it's felt like, honestly, if I think of adding poor health on top of everything else we've been doing, it's just that would break the camel's back. So I'm super thankful we've been able to maintain good health, and God's grace is involved in that, I'm sure.
Do you decide what Adam takes? Do you break
Yes.
it down? Yes. You just
Yes.
put in there what you think.
I don't ask any questions.
He never knows what's going in.
Well, she did freak out last night because I almost took a B vitamin. She's like, no, don't take that.
Yeah, I was like, don't take the orange speckled one before bed. I'm going to keep him up all night. No. But yes, I'll separate them out if they need to be morning, evening.
you'll ask-
I'll rotate through what he takes, but I've pretty much got it down to what has him feeling his best.
You ask me you'll check in with me. I feel like at times and be like, hey, how are you feeling? How's if your headache's been worse or better? And then you'll adjust things for me.
Yeah.
Based on what I need.
Yeah, I know when
Feel
he's
like a child. I'm like,
I know when he's traveling, I'm boosting some immune things, or if he's been really stressed out and he
Yep.
gets,
Well, I think in this season specifically, like you said, we're always really diligent with the supplements, but you've even given us more, me and the kids and yourself, more than normal, just because we're moving, we're traveling, we've got a lot of things going on, and it would be really rough if we're all sick right now.
Yes.
Okay, so real quick as a rundown, we have a lot of information. You have a lot of information too on nowthatimamotherhealth.com. Mm-hmm. Where do people get to you in terms of talking about supplements? If they're curious what they should put in their grandma
in their pill box.
I just like the term pill box. But it is a blessing, actually. I think honestly, just my flippancy with that is because neither of our grandparents have been on any medications on both sides of the family that have taken Neolife supplements for 30 years, which is crazy.
Yeah.
In their 80s. And then our parents aren't on prescription meds. And like, that's just a gift, you know?
Yeah.
And I see that. And so I think sometimes I'm like, oh, it's a pill box, you know, but it's not, it's supplements, and it eliminates the need for the pill box.
Yes.
So,
Ideally.
or definitely
That's the
takes it down. Yeah. So, okay. Where can people contact you to figure out what they should take? And then tell me a brief rundown. What do you guys take on a day in and day out basis? Cause Elisha, it's funny. As you're saying this, I'm like, I really should get better. Just on the way down here on the road trip, you were pulling supplements out of your own backpack and you pack them for yourself.
Yeah, apparently I am a creature of habit, because I am just steady Eddie with my supplementation, because
Good for you.
I need it. Yeah, I want that stability on the health side.
Yeah. So, as far as, sorry, what was the first
Where to
question? I know.
contact.
Oh yeah. Where to contact is at nowthatimamother@gmail.com. And that's the best way to get a hold of me.
Well, I think it's now that I'm a mother health@gmail.com.
Yes. Sorry. Now that I'm a mother
Well,
health.
I think you can go that now that I'm a motherhealth.com, and there's like a contact us, and it just takes you to the email, I think.
You
right?
could also go through that. Yeah. But email's the best way these days. I'm not really on social media all that much anymore. So that's ideal. Yeah.
And then what we take.
Yeah. And as far as what we take Pro Vitality, which is a pack of 4 supplements that has one that's really built on for immunity, and then salmon oil, which really helps lower inflammation, a bunch of other things, multivitamin, and then Treonin, which is energy and just cell function. So we take that absolutely no matter what's going on. My kiddos also take that.
What do you give me?
And then Adam gets zinc and magnesium. Those are just like two if you're a male, you pretty much can count on the fact that you're deficient in that. So that's what they say. So he takes zinc and magnesium all the time as well. And then B vitamins and extra salmon oil for his migraines.
Do you take zinc and magnesium?
No,
Probably deficient.
Gotta get you some zinc and magnesium.
I need my pill boxes for you to be able to put that in.
I gave you an extra chromosome, no zinc and magnesium.
Yeah. And then for myself, during this season, we've been adding on Phyto Defense.
Prenatals too, right? Remember?
Yeah, I take the Stress Pack, Pro Vitality, and Phyto Defense, but I feel really good, so I don't mind doing it. And then also, like, as he's traveling, like garlic or Super C, these are things that I've been like rotating in and out as needed, kind of as I feel like he needs the support.
Yeah, and I know this sounds like a funny little supplement spiel but it's kind of like, it's like the family business in terms of, it's definitely the family storehouse for supplements, because like I said, like our grandparents go back, and then, I mean, Kyla's and my grandparents go back. Adam and Elisha have different families, but then going back to, they've been taking them for 30 years, something like that. Like aunts, uncles, cousins, parents, everybody. Kyla and I saw Mama have 11 kids and do it better than anyone we knew. And so we're just over here trying to stick with the program.
Well, I feel like all of us husbands kind of like, at least I'll speak for myself, but I married in and was like all skeptical, like, oh, okay, supplements, whatever. And then, like, I can't even remember when, but like Kyle was obviously force feeding these to me, or giving me my pill box and feeding them. And I started feeling better, and I started getting a little less headaches. And it took me some time to be kind of like finally be like, okay, I think it kind of works. But I've noticed it's crazy where especially when in seasons where I feel like my immunity could be a lot lower. And in previous times I would have gotten sick. I feel great. So,
well, we'll still have, a lot of people around us getting sick all the time. And it really makes you be like, wow, I'm so thankful that we've invested in this. And it's really raised the value that I placed on it as I've gotten older. I'm like, I love feeling great. And I really feel like this is a key piece of that.
Yeah.
Especially with young kids. One kid gets it and then you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
It's just going to go through the entire family.
Right. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And it is such a worthy thing to prioritize, like isn't the saying, like when you have your health, you have 100 goals. You don't have your health, you have one goal.
Yep.
And, we talk about goals for our family and how we could probably all relate to when somebody goes down or when there is a health crisis. Like that's the one thing you're trying to address. That it's pauses all progress in other areas of life.
That vision, strategy, and tactics, all that's awesome. All these things, it's all predicated on the fact that you just feel good and are healthy,
right.
and you have this thing you want to go do and pursue. And that's why, like, it's not just supplements, but it's eating meal. Like Kyla's had a lot of good recipes, I think, on that website. But eating healthy meals, working out. I track a lot of my stuff. Like, just it's a more holistic approach to be.
Sleep.
Sure.
Yeah, that's great because on I'mAMotherHealth.com, there's great recipes, which are awesome that you've put on there. And then also there's workout videos as well.
There's a few little
we really promote holistic living.
You got to dig for those, but they're in there somewhere.
Yeah, those are fun.
They're just 7 minutes too.
Yeah.
7-minute workouts.
Knock it out. Just a little movement.
If you want to see Kyla, Katie, and Kelsey doing a choreographed workout, that's where you need to go.
It's so funny. We went and we bought matching outfits, all three of us girls. And like,
I remember,
then we got out sweatbands, I think, for one of them. Like, they started getting crazier and crazier.
We were all living in Coeur d'Alene at the time when we did these. And I remember driving past that park and the three girls out there all matching, running around with the kids. I'm like, that looks like a weird little cult thing going on.
Yeah, we'd have to pause and nurse the babies. And then go running back out to the garage.
Postpartum. I was the humble modifier in the back and trying to stick with it.
Nice. Well, not only will we link Now That I'm a Mother Health below, we'll link directly to those videos, actually.
People are going to be interested.
Yeah.
Please do.
Kyla and Adam, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, especially like on a holiday week. It's like I didn't want this to be some false start to the holiday week, but we're so grateful that you guys are willing to do this. I know our audience is going to love it. So blessings to you guys. Thank you so much.
Love you guys.
Thanks for having us.